This video contains gratuitous use of profanity and uncomfortable pauses to compensate for lack of professionalism and original thought. Viewer discretion advised.
Coming to you live from an undisclosed Cobra location, we bring you the Nerdy Manroom show with your host, Hassel, and Cobra Commander himself, Monster.
Oh, I see where we're going with that this week. I see. Normally you try to tie it into whatever we're talking about, but you just completely cut that out this week, huh?
Well, it was that or the center of the multiverse, and I was like, you know what? I like this better.
Maybe that is the undisclosed location, the center of the multiverse.
It could be.
It's
undisclosed for a reason.
Was it in DC, the Bleed or whatever?
Yeah, I couldn't remember. That's why I was like, shit.
Hyper Time, the Bleed, something like that. They've got so many names for it because they've messed it up so many times.
We call it Monarch's Home.
But we are back this week after having to miss a week due to my traveling. But we're back this week to discuss The Flash. We were going to try and do it before the movie come out, but we're going to do it right after the movies come out at this point. But before we get to that, let's make sure we thank our sponsor, These Own Collectibles. You can find them at These Own Collectibles at gmail.com on our internet and on Facebook at These Own Collectibles, or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs, from comics to Legos, trading cards, toys, games, and more. Help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. And with that, Hassel, I think we're good to go straight into Geek Weeks. And I don't remember who went first last time because it's been a little bit, and I've tried to sleep since then, but I've adjusted to several different shifts since that point. So I'm going to let you go first while I catch my breath.
You know, life's hell being Cobra Commander. When you're head of the criminal organization, hell bent on ruling the world, man, it's an adjustment, I imagine.
Every now and then.
I don't have this problem. I just got a few knuckleheads. So
the AC in the Terror Drone doesn't work too great either. I mean, that's a big place to keep cool, but it keeps going out.
I can imagine the West, but if it's anything like it is here the last 2 or 3 weeks, until the rain came, it was pretty brutal. But well, we're a few days removed from Father's Day, so to all the fathers who are watching the show, we would like to just say happy belated Father's Day. So, I'll kick off into Geek Week with that. The family got me Diablo 4 and Shredder's Revenge for the PlayStation 5. I was pretty stoked with these, actually.
So I have not tried Diablo 4, but I was never really big into the others. I played them occasionally, but I wasn't huge into them. But how is Shredder's Revenge? Because I've heard mixed reviews on that. Some good, some like eh.
I really enjoy it so far. I hadn't played a lot. I played a little bit while Diablo was downloading Saturday night because the family went ahead and my wife gave it to me early. It was kind of an early deal. So while it was downloading, Shredder's Revenge didn't take me just a few seconds to download. It was a quick download. If you like the old 4-player game, it's very much like it's a good side scroller. The graphics are a little more enhanced than what that old arcade was. So it's just that right level of they're enhanced enough, but at the same time you get the nostalgia feeling. And just for shits and giggles, I started out with Splinter just to see how he done. He was actually pretty fun to play with. He's got his little cane, and when he's walking, he's kind of walking with the cane like he's got a limp. But then he goes all Yoda on you here and there, and it's pretty fun. I hadn't played with anyone else. I literally just played for probably 30 minutes that night before Diablo got ready, and then I dove into it, and it was fun. I got through about 2 levels, I think it was, and I got some new DLC coming, and it's this the rabbit. I know I'm gonna fuck his name up.
Usagi.
Yep.
Usagi Yojimbo.
Or that guy. He's the downloadable character, and I think it's a whole extra mission. But so the graphics are real cool. It reminded me very, very much of the old game. Like even the little thing is like you face forget who I fought first, but the Bebop and Rocksteady get in this like big 4-wheel drive truck, they're hauling ass. So you're chasing the next level. You're chasing them up and down the highway, and you got like a little hoverboard type deal, and you're fighting things off, and then you get battle them. And I think I did battle Rocksteady, kicked his ass. Pretty happy about that. But it's very fun, and you can play with friends. You do the 4-player deal, so if you do decide to get it monster, we can do this. We get Josh on there, make Mr. Mittens be April O'Neil, because she is a playable option, which surprised me. But hey, that's what it is.
I guess it depends on if it's the cartoon version. She's not much help. If it's the comic version where she learn how to be a martial artist and stuff, yeah, I'll take that.
I'm not sure what she does yet. I fully intend to play with them all to see. But I was like, you know what? Well, I know we'll start playing with Turtles. We'll be stuck there. So that's why I was like, I'll start with Splinter. And I might give her a chance, for a level or so. But it's pretty fun. Then I got immersed into Diablo. And yeah. For a couple of hours there, Sunday, I was just like in the zone.
That seems to be the big thing right now, from what I'm seeing, or at least from our friend group, because I see the text like, "Hey, who's getting on? Are we getting in here and playing together?" And I don't know who else playing besides you and Mr. Mittens and Casey. I don't know if I was or Big Rob was playing or not, but
Big Rob was talking about getting it. I'm not sure if he ever did or not. I thought at one time he told me he had it pre-ordered, but we hadn't heard a whole lot from him this week, so I haven't got to discuss it with him. I know Casey sent me and Mittens a plan request to be a part of the Loot Goblins, I believe we're called. So hey, that happened. I haven't got to play a whole lot this weekend, unfortunately. Like I said, it's been pretty busy at work, and we've had some things going on with family. So I intend to fully submerge myself into this probably come Saturday. I'm hoping the wife don't have plans for the weekend, because I'm thinking about.
I just never got into the multiplayer online games like that. Like I did City of Heroes, but I spent more time. I spent probably twice as much time making characters as I did actually playing the game. I just never got into stuff like that. I was like I'm more of a play right there in the room with folks or play by myself.
The thing that I have found I don't really. I know what you're saying there. I'm not. I haven't really got to play with those guys online, so it's been a long time. There's been a few areas where other characters would come up while I was battling. You go to certain zones, open world zones, and other characters or other people can come into there and they can help you battle off this thing. And I'm that asshole that's like really greedy when the chest opens. So I start grabbing shit and haul ass. I'm that guy. So I ain't got to play with Mittens or Casey or Rob yet. So I'm not sure how that goes. I did find out that was one of the fortunate things about having the beta, because on this one here, it does not have the Crusader, which is typically who I like to play with, is the Crusader. You got the Barbarian, the Necromancer, the Sorcerer, the Rogue, and the Druid. And I played originally with the Druid on there, and then they come back with another weekend where you could do it again. And I tried the Necromancer, and I wasn't real keen on the Necromancer. Maybe it's a deal where you need to power up to a certain level, and it might do more.
Yeah.
So I went back with the Druid, and I like it because I can turn into a werebear and a werewolf right now, and I'm pretty fucking happy with this. So, and the story's pretty good. I will say, his powers, he seems to start out with I don't say a little more, but you have more options starting out than what you did. Once you start getting your points to, attribute points, there was more options than there were in the beta. So I don't know. Maybe they just give us a taste in the beta. So maybe the Necromancer is better. If I try it this way, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the only thing I've really heard about it outside of what you guys have said is heard a couple of folks talking about this, and they're like, it's very hard sometimes to follow the story when you start playing with a group, because everybody's like, let's move on to the next thing. But there are parts where you cannot finish the story on your own. You have to play in a group in certain parts, regardless of whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah, I've hit one of them already. Actually, I come across this. I was trying to do this mission, and it's one of the bullshit side missions. Like it's very early in the game, and like I just come across this woman, and she was like, "Hey, the monk quit coming with his tithe to the chapel. Can you go along this road?" Okay, cool. So I'm going along this road, and you just keep running into these damn big weregoats almost. They're gigantic goat creatures. And I was like, fuck, these are kind of, yeah, you battle through them pretty decently. But then I found this one chest there, and it looked kind of cool. And I don't know what the fuck the thing is. It's almost like this giant knight, but he's got this red energy coming off of him. So I was like, I'm brave, I'm fucking everything else up. I werewolf up, start going in there. He smacks the old pup around a little bit. I wear bear up. I don't have much better luck there because he's slower than the werewolf. And yeah. I started thinking I was holding my own, so I break my energy axe back out. And I'm doing okay for a little bit, and there's two of them. Next thing you know, I'm fucking dead. Starting back over at the last checkpoint. And I stumbled upon this area two more times before I finally completed the side mission. And got my axe waxed one more time. Another time, I was like, fuck this shit. After a few minutes, I was like, I'm not going to win this by myself. I need help.
Yeah.
I just got the fuck out of there. I was like, deuces, bitch, I'm out. So I don't know what the fucking prize was there, but hopefully it's something great because it waxed the shit out of me two times.
I've heard that though, that you really, and the old games are kind of like that too. You kind of had at certain points you had to team up with people, but like I'm one of those folks that I want to do that after I finish the story because I just want to see the story first.
Yeah, because sometimes I want to ask all the questions. Because like you got certain people you interact with, like some of them's like it's just bullshit, like oh how are you, but then you got those ones that are like pivotal parts of the story.
Yeah.
So, like, when it gives me four options there, I want to ask all four fucking questions because I feel like, I'm going to miss out on something if I don't. Like, if you just ask whatever the main purpose of your thing is, you feel like you're going to miss out. But, so yeah, I kind of like to do that on my own there. If it were more like Gauntlet, I guess I'd really love to just play with people because, like, Gauntlet, you just go through smash and bash and go.
Yeah, there's no story to it.
This does have a lot more story, and I will say their cutscenes are really, really great. Blizzard, they always do well at that anyways. But they've done a great job with Lilith. She looks pretty damn hot for a horned demon. And it's actually the way they portray her, you can see is how people would because typically it's like, why the fuck would you follow a demon? You know what I'm saying? Like, what in your right mind says, hey, I'm gonna follow that horn bitch right there to hell.
Yeah.
But they do a good job of portraying her. And she puts off this energy that's very, very charismatic, and at the same time, it's alluring. She's like, oh shit. Ugh, I see why these poor bastards just lost their soul. They murder a preacher up pretty quick in the game. It's pretty brutal scene.
Oh.
So, yeah. Beyond that, I have got a pretty good haul in this week. Sunday I did stumble upon a Secret of the Oozed NECA Part 2 Shredder. I was pretty happy about that because I've had the Super Shredder for some time, but I really wanted to get the regular version, And he's a really great figure, and I actually opened him up, and he actually looks great. He comes with multiple hands. You got the TGRI capsule with all the ooze. And then you got a little vial that you can put in one of his hands. It comes with a sword and a staff, and you can take his mask off. I'm terrified to fucking do so. Because I'm scared that once you get it off, it's not going back and staying. So I'm not fucking with that part. But he's got some good mobility and flexibility, and it is a good figure. I put him in with the Super 7 stuff. He sticks out a little bit there, but that's where he's residing right now.
Too small for him.
No, I mean size-wise, he looks very small next to Baxter Stockman and Leatherhead, but both those are some large figures. Like I think you've seen Slash in person. He's much bigger than the others. They are bigger than him, but he fits in pretty well with Casey Jones and Raphael. Actually, size-wise, it's a good blend. So I didn't. Sebastian, I guess the realism next to the
aesthetics.
The detailed Playmate version. So it's still a cool figure. I'm pretty happy with it. And then I got a haul in from Big Bad Toy Store. Got my Ultimate Andre the Giant in finally. It's a really great looking figure actually. Like typically I don't go in for Andre figures because usually they look like shit. I mean, that's just be honest. Through the years, I've had some, and I think I still have my metalweight Andre the Giant that Jack Pacific put out. However, typically they just don't look good. And I did go in for the Andre in the full suit for Elite Series 11 because it looked real good because he had the title belt and it was, the infamous snatching the cross off the Hulkster when he done his heel turn.
Yeah.
So I had to go in for that figure. And this Ultimate one, I mean, it knocks it out of the park to keep it. Like you put them next to one, and I was like, ooh. Some of the heads are like really great. I'm tempted to open him. And he comes with another title belt. He comes with a really big title belt. The Andre shirt with a hand on it, some hands and things like this. And I seen where somebody had took, because he comes with like 3 different heads. Somebody took one of the heads and done, he had a short-lived feud with Warrior.
Yep.
And he done that one match where he had like his face painted up with this horrible face paint that she was like, Andre had drank wine before he done this. Because it just like he just smeared with his fingers. But somebody took a head and made one of those, and I was like, oh shit, I'm almost tempted to do this because you couldn't foobar that up. You just do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it wouldn't be hard to do.
Just make some marks. It doesn't matter.
Pretty much. So I got that in. I got my Morph and Jean Grey came in with that. That's what it was. Because I caught them on sale on Big Bad Toy Store, and as you can see behind me, my X-Men shelf has just pretty much took over back there. I got some Risers. I got to go back and try to add them and see if I can spread them out.
I actually opened up my 3 packs of those X-Men 275 this past weekend before I had to go out of town for work, and I've just got them stuck on a random shelf right now until I get a new case. I wasn't gonna open until I got the display, but then I wanted to mess with them, and I had gotten some extra. Like I had gotten an extra one of those sets for like $20 because I had some points to spend, and I was like, oh, I'll spend them on that, and then I could pop some heads off because I had some spare heads for some different characters. And
I kind of wish I had an extra Storm body to put the other Jean Grey head on because I think that would actually work out pretty well. Because you got one head where she's got the ponytail, which is actually more like what needs to go on the body that I got with the VHS. But you have the big mane hair, like Jean always has.
Yeah.
And I feel like that one would actually fit very well with that body. I don't want to pay $20 for another one. But
I have a spare Psylocke body.
Same thing.
It's the same exact body as Storm. Yep. Jubilee's was the only different one because she was shorter. But I have that. We get together afterwards. I'll see about trying to get it to you when I get back because I leave out of town again this weekend. But when I get back, I can send it to you.
Singapore sounds good. I will say that's the first one of the Hasbros I've had any trouble swapping heads on. Because the ball joint, the pin, it kept falling forward. And I was so scared because it was snug as hell when I was trying to swap it out. So I was so terrified that I was going to break that little point under the ball between the ball and the body. And I was like, oh, fuck, don't do me like this. But, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send that to you when I get back to town. I thought about buying the Morph because they've got him on and putting him on the shelf because I've got one. I just haven't got one to open, and they've got him on the sale on the Hasbro Power Days. They're like 35% off right now.
A pretty solid figure, actually. It looks great, actually. I did put the evil eyes on mine, and that one the head flops on and off very well. And if they'd have done the Morph with the smile for the regular head, I'd have probably kept it on there. But they went with just like a basic face. You could actually repurpose it for someone else. I'm not quite sure who you get away with. You couldn't do a Bobby with it, but you could do someone else. But so I went with the dark eyes and stuck him in with my villains.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean those are really nice figures. I like the way they did them. I don't like the way they did Banshee's cape, the attachments for it, but beyond that, he looks fantastic. He was
from
my
the
favorite
front.
one
He
out
looks
of them.
Great. If you catch him from the side or the back, though, it's like ooh.
He was my favorite one out of those just because I wanted the Banshee anyway. But like the updated Forge is actually much better than the last one they put out. The Gambit on there, I like the head better on that one than I do on any of the other bodies they've given them because they actually resculpted the head a little bit and changed the hairdo.
Yeah, they're doing a great job on that series there. That's a solid line all the way around. I'm pretty happy with them.
But they had to have done that in 3-packs like that. There's no way they'd have made a wave and sold those with a build-a-figure. It just wouldn't have made sense. I'm not sure that everybody would have went in and bought all those individually unless you were trying.
I would not have bought a Jubilee individually. I'd have been on the fence about Psylocke.
Yeah.
The Storm looks really great. I like her. But the thing is, once I open the packs and I actually look at the Jubilee and look at the Psylocke, the figures are very well done, and like the accessories that come with them, really make them like I will say, Jubilee was the one I shit on the most before I opened, and then like once I opened it, I was like, holy cow, this is a really nice figure. They done a great job on both heads, the glasses, the head with the bubble gum. I mean, everything about it just looked really, really great. But I wouldn't have bought it without that.
Most everybody that I've seen that's reviewed them is talked very highly of them. I've seen a couple, and I actually have one. When I got one of my packs open and I opened up one of the bodies, I think I swapped out the Storm body for Psylocke and just popped the head on her because when I bought that second set, because there's a little bit of yellow bleed on some of the blue paint. Mm-hmm. It's a very spot that you really wouldn't notice unless you just saw it. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, nope, because I had one I could replace it with. I've seen people talk about some of that here and there, but the biggest thing I've seen is people talking about they're getting the Banshee, and you're supposed to come with the stoic face on and have the sideburn and stuff, and then you get the screaming face where the hair is kind of pushed back for action. But several people I've seen saying that all they're getting is 2 screaming heads. They're not getting the regular just straight face one.
I've seen that there. I have seen that, and my Jubilee had the bleed on one of her shoulders. I covered that in my review. You just said the other shoulder's perfect, but there's just that slight bleed between the yellow and blue. Oh, I want to say it's her right shoulder. But
on my Storm, it was like on her thigh, and there was like two brush marks of yellow hit her thigh and just stuck there because it's away from the bands a little bit. So I'm like, how did that end up right there? But it's kind of weird. But it's not terrible. It's just something that you have to pose them just right to hide it.
Yeah, I kind of got her with that shoulder to the back, and then Wolverine's beside her, so it kind of draws away from it. It worked out pretty well. To close my Geek Week out, the only other thing I really had was, did you catch Collision Saturday night? I know you're not AEW.
No, but, well, I don't have any way of watching it anyway because there's nothing. I don't have any live TV, and none of the streaming services offer TBS and TNT after the fact.
Did you catch any of the highlights of Punk's promo?
I heard little bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I heard some of
it. He pulled no punches. I'll get what you know what they were going to have to address it. You were not going to have him return the more because if you tried to ignore it, kind of like with the Bucks and the Elite returned. They tried to ignore it and let it go. And the fans give them a little bit of rope there. But Punk, there was no way in hell they wasn't going to, blast the shit out of him if he didn't address it. And he did full on. It's actually a very good promo.
Well, and the other thing is there's no way that him or they come out of it with the same amount of respect and fan appreciation that they had before. It hurt them. Because no matter what you say, you should have expected the viewership to hit their mark that they always talk about hitting when he was on there, and they did.
It didn't. It was 800,000, 825, something like that.
The entire thing and all of it being shared and all of it being spread, and Tony Khan allowing it to happen, and whoever's in the wrong, it doesn't matter. It hurt the brand totally because there's no way that he who was drawing their $1 billion show or viewership is now not able to draw even 900,000.
Yeah, literally, when your champion is sitting beside you and shitting all over you, your company as an owner, you got to shut that shit down, and that's where it should have happened. It should have never went as far as it got. But he did go out there and he had the title belt, he had his boots, and I will say because he kept going, hey, tell me if I'm lying. And he got away with it it's in Chicago anyways. It'll be interesting to see the reaction he gets in some other towns.
Yes, and it's going to be very interesting to see because there's going to be a section of the fans that he's not going to be an in-between. You're either a Punk fan or you're an Elite fan because all their arguments did was make the Elite fans hate him and his fans hate the Elite. So you can't mix the two. You got to be one or the other.
Chicago was in unison with "fuck the elite" during his promo, and it was like to the point they started having to bleep it out. It got that bad. But I mean, he said, you know, he threw his little jab in there about being the one genuine bill in a business full of counterfeit bucks. And then, and
I
then he was
heard that
like,
one. Yeah.
he said, to all you think I owe you an apology. I'm sorry that you're the only thing softer than you as a wrestler is you like. And I was like, holy shit. He threw some good
Yeah.
jabs there. But like he said, he had his boots with him. He said, until somebody can fill these boots right here, I'm going to be here. And I was like, hey, I can respect that at least. He cut a solid promo, and you're either going to love him or hate him afterwards. I kind of got the vibe like they're putting FTR with him to try to keep him on the face side, but I think they're going to wind up going with the heel, which works best anyways.
Well, and there's no way you can be fans of them and the Bucks and stuff at the same time because there's you know that they threw them under the bus to begin with. Just look at all the stuff and how they avoided them and everything. You know that they're not. The Bucks can say what they want to. They are not fans of FTR and do not want to deal with them. They don't like the fact that they're more over than they are.
No, I actually figured that when their contracts are up, and that's what'll be interesting. When their contracts are up, I expect the Bucks and Omega all to shoot to WWE. Because Cody, if you think Cody's not, you know, lining that road for them already, we're all crazy. They'll all end up there. It'd be interesting to see what happens since they're all EVP supposedly. What happens there? But I mean, what happened with Cody? Did he get a buyout, or how did that transpire?
I don't know how in a business world, and I get that it's Tony Khan and it's his money, he does whatever. But in the business world, how do you employ Kenny Omega as an EVP when this dude spent 3 years and 5 times as much as they're going to possibly ever make back on that video game? That video game, the licenses on that video game would have to be in place and take several, like 7 to 8 years probably to catch up of being made and selling copies of a new version each year to even.
Well, it went with a company that was put out of business doing wrestling video games.
Yeah.
I mean, THQ was put out of business from doing those. And this game just looks like a really updated version of NWO Revenge. I'm just going to be honest. It doesn't look good. The scenes I've seen with like the blood or whatever are horrendous because it looks beyond Mortal Kombat, like over the top blood.
And how do you spend? I've heard anywhere between $4 and $9 billion on this game.
Oh wow!
In production,
I haven't heard that.
And 3 years.
I know it was 3 years, and yeah, that's a lot. But I will say I was quite surprised when I seen Punk show up on Dynamite last night because you know they were saying that his show was going to be the Saturday night show.
Yeah.
And they will keep the Elite on Dynamite on Wednesdays.
Keep them completely separate.
But they were all there last night. Now I will say the segment with the Elite and Heyman and Omega, it was like a backstage filmed vignette type thing. So, and they probably done that to keep. So I don't know if they were actually there live or they just filmed this shit at some point and phoned it in. But they did not want them guys in front of that Chicago crowd. You can tell.
No, I don't want to spend too much more time on it, but have you seen how the ticket sales have been for them and the pricing on the tickets and stuff?
No, I had. I know they've done pretty well with the London show.
They did for that, but that's because everything sells when you go out of the country because they don't get it as often. So, like, they sold out.
Even the Falcons and Jaguars can sell out over there.
Yeah, well, they sold out Wembley, but then the bigger arena, WWE, sold out for Money in the Bank. But then you look at the stuff that they're making over here. Like, I looked at ticket prices because they were having some nearby, and not too long from now, their house shows they are charging almost $200 to $300 for floor seats for house shows that are not even taped.
Nah, they're not. See, that's where they'll shoot themselves in the foot. Because I remember we used to go to all the WWE house shows when they would come local. And we were getting like less than $100. You got like first, second row. It was used typically between $60 and $100. We'd all sit kind of within the first 2 or 3 rows there, and it was well under $100.
And I get the inflation and stuff, but like when I went, not even just a few years ago, right after, it might have been right before COVID, but still, we paid $198 for 2 tickets, front row, corner seats by the entrance ramp. And it was their star case, so it wasn't televised till later, but
Yeah.
We paid 198 for 2 tickets up front with all the fees and taxes and the opportunity to get an autograph.
So that was one of the things I used to like about the TNA back in the early Impact days, and I really wish that we could have made one of those events. Because if you went to one of their tapings or pay-per-views or whatever, especially at pay-per-view, you were guaranteed an autograph because they'd done the meet and greet before, and all the stars were made to be there. And at that time, you had Sting, Scott Steiner, Kevin Nash, Hall was in and out, Jarrett, Booker T. You had some Kurt Angle. I mean, those are some fucking massive stars. Yeah, I really regret not going to one of those now.
And I said an opportunity for an autograph. I should have rephrased that. It was a guaranteed autograph. The opportunity was who was going to be there for the autographs. We got lucky it was AJ Styles, but you don't always get you were liable to get Eva Marie or something.
Yeah,
that nobody really wants for the most part. I mean, but however, I mean, they spend that, but I saw where like their Toronto shows and several other shows that AEW is not selling them out, and like when they're getting on camera, they're either shooting from different angles or using seat fillers that they're hiring to show make it look like to make it look like the arena's full and it's not.
It'll be interesting to see what they do Saturday and Sunday because they have Collision Saturday, of course, and it's going to be in Canada, and then you have the Forbidden Door pay-per-view Sunday, and that's also in Canada. I think it's actually in Ontario, and that's where Omega's from. So it'll be interesting to see just what kind of receptions we get in the Bizarro land.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see that. I'm not going to watch it by any means, but I do want to see how it goes. But with that, we have been going a little bit. So I'll jump into my Geek Week if that was all of yours. And
yeah, that was all I had.
I don't really have a whole lot. I've been traveling for work mostly, but I did want to touch on a little bit the Yo-Yo June for G.I. Joe toys coming out of Hasbro. They put out some premium stuff in the last few weeks, and every week they're doing more. They've got one more week left, so interested to see who's going to be on sale in that last week that they're coming out with, just because they've already announced all the ones they've done so far, and there's like 4 or 5 that have been announced by name, but they haven't shown renders or ready for pre-order and stuff yet. So I'm curious to see who's in the last week of sales, because it seems like they would be out of stuff by this point, to be perfectly honest.
Well, my wallet is out, I can tell you that.
And speaking on them, I haven't read this, but I'm trying to find right now because I missed out on ordering it because of the name of it. But I've seen the licensing for the Transformer and G.I. Joe comics went to Skybound, which was one of the ones that was in contention for, which is Robert Kirkman's imprint, which is distributed by Image.
Yeah.
So when you're ordering books, you look under Image, and I saw this when I was ordering because I do my pre-orders 2 months out, but the first book is called Void Rivals, and it introduces their shared universe, which is called the Energon universe. Nothing in that title of Void Rivals or the description of that story made me think that was going to be the G.I. Joe and Transformer, so I didn't order it. And now anybody who just wandering in the store look for it, they're actually selling out, and they're doing second printings because everybody found out the week before it came out. Everybody found out that's what it was going to be about.
Watch it be like when The Walking Dead. I literally remember. I'll never forget this. Andrew tried his best to put me on that book. Like literally before Walking Dead, started. He's like, "Hey man, I think you'll like this title. It's going to drop in about 2 or 3 months. You might want to pre-order it." And I was like, "Oh," because I had a few pages there, as a preview. They were in black and white, and I was like, "Fuck that! I ain't paying $4 for a black and white book." I was don't worry about it. And now if you got a mint copy of The Walking Dead, it's like 10 grand. It's basically a CGC. It's like, fuck me running.
Well, that's like this. This is a mini series about some characters that are completely homemade up from that studio and all, but it's going to introduce the Transformers and G.I. Joe from their respective planets and all. But then you're going into, I think they said they're doing 4 miniseries before they start regular series, and each miniseries is like a kind of an origin story for some of the main characters and some of the backstory, and then because like the first one is going to be Duke from G.I. Joe. It's G.I. Joe Duke, and it's a little bit of his origin in the military, and then leading into him being in G.I. Joe and G.I. Joe existing, and then the other one they announced I think was a Cobra one, but I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Cobra Commander, I don't think, but they haven't said who the 2 Transformer ones would be. And then you get regular series starting, and I'm like, you know what? I'm actually going to try them out and give them a shot, because sometimes they do very well, sometimes they don't. I kind of, after IDW, I kind of quit buying any of either one of them, and then well, not IDW.
I stayed with them
DreamWorks.
up through Devil's Due when they went into, because you had IDW, DreamWorks, and then Devil's Due. And when they got to Devil's Due, you could tell real quick it fell off. And that's kind of where I quit. And, I kept a little bit of tabs on them. I didn't read anymore. But then I do remember hearing that Kirkman's new brand was in contention to get the license. And then I heard no more about it. It literally slipped by me. That's been what?
And I think it was actually DreamWorks, Devil's Due, and then IDW, because I quit after Devil's Due as well, and I didn't go to the IDW, and that's who ran them for the longest time.
Maybe it was in the early stages of IDW then. I remember whatever out of the three, whichever one was last. I went a few issues into their runs, and I was like,
and I didn't. Man. And then when I saw it, because the kids started getting them, and he was enjoying reading them, I was like, I looked at a couple of them and read a couple of them just out of curiosity, and I was like, it's not too bad. But at that point, I was like, I'm too far behind. I ain't trying to go back and catch up.
I tried to get back into Transformers when I did the arc where Megatron became an Autobot. And I started downloading those. I was pirating books at this point. Don't judge me. But I was at a point I was in a fuck the man phase. I wasn't gonna buy fucking books, so I was doing a lot of pirating books, and then I just fell behind big time. And literally, I was looking for a jump drive the other day to give our sponsor a bunch of our episodes on, and I was like, holy shit, these books are like 3 years ago. And it was a jump drive full of books about 3 years ago, and I was like, ooh. But I do buy books now, so don't judge me anymore.
Yeah, we spent the $20 to get the digital copies of IDW was doing a charity event, and it was like $20, and you got $500 worth of graphic novels, Transformers, like different volumes of it and stuff that they had put out, and we ended up buying that for the $20 for the kid and doing the charity donation. Like he has like 2 jump drives full of them because there was so much file at that point that you couldn't do it on just one. But besides that, the only thing I've really done is I've watched a couple movies when I got home from traveling. I watched Extraction 2 on Netflix, which was good, just as good as the first one. It's a lot of action. Story is kind of, but so was the first one. But I mean, as far as just an action movie, it was very entertaining.
I seen they've already greenlit the third one.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's coming back, because he was supposed to be Chris Hemsworth was supposed to be taking a hiatus for a while from acting because of some personal stuff and all. But after watching that, we did kick over and watch the Stan Lee documentary, and I will tell you that it was cool to hear the stuff in Stan's voice when he was talking about it and giving some of his life story and all. But there's also a lot of stuff that they glossed over. There's a lot of weird time jumps, like it's showing you like, oh, here's through the years what they were doing, and then you get to like 1963 or whatever, and they talk about Fantastic Four, and then they jump ahead to 1967, and all of a sudden they're talking about going backwards, and they go backwards and start talking about how Spider-Man came around. So I was like, why did you make the time jump then?
Yeah,
it was kind of
probably
weird
because of the footage they had to use. But how does only Stan Lee can pull this off, where he looked fucking older in the 60s than he did in his 60s, like literally. Somehow or another, between, because he looks old as shit in them early stories. He's got like the slick back, and he's very balding, no facial hair.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see the late 70s, and he's got this like bouffant comb over and the big stash. I'm like,
and I wonder how much of his look from that time frame was, because, and I didn't realize that he was ever in the military, but apparently he was in the military during the, what was it, World War II, I guess.
Okay.
Because he went in from being an intern at the comic book company. He joined the military, and then they ended up saying, okay, your experience is mostly in media, so they put him making some of the training videos and writing training books and stuff for the military. I did not know that until I watched that documentary.
Well, they had one of those autographed.
Yeah, but it was an interesting watch. There was a lot of stuff in there that was the controversy between him and. They didn't really touch on him and Jack Kirby except for one little small part, but him and Steve Ditko they touched on for a bit. And then they showed him with John Byrne, and like his relationship, not John Byrne, John Romita Sr., and his relationship with him was like so cordial and so nice. But like there was a lot of contention between him and Steve Ditko, and a lot of contention between him and Jack Kirby. And I'm like,
well, the Kirby family, they did not enjoy this documentary.
No, they did not. I saw
his son has went on record, and he just bashed the shit out of it. I haven't got to watch it yet, and I will watch it. I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
He's not entirely wrong. When I read that, I'm like, yes, you're right. Stan did take a lot of credit for stuff that wasn't just him. You had to have both parties involved. Neither one could have said they did it without the other. However, I also go back to it's not just he made again. I get it's his son, but he made Jack Kirby sound like he was a patron saint of this stuff too, and he never wanted any credit. That's the whole reason he left DC, because they wouldn't give him credit on his New Guys, and they wanted him to quit writing it and be an editor and kind of push him out of the writing of and drawing of it, and he didn't want to, and he got mad about it, and that's why he left. So I'm like, it's not entirely. You can't say that he's not entirely somewhat the same.
Don't get me wrong. It takes both pieces for the character to become successful.
Absolutely.
But however, I mean, you and I, we've toyed around with creating shit enough through the years. I mean, we hadn't published anything, but if you come up with a character, while you might not flesh him out on paper, or you may even do a doodle, like, sometimes, we doodle shit up, like literally for the 2 or 3 books that I've got scripts for that I'm ready to do something with. I did do doodles of, how I wanted the characters to look, and I turned it over to an artist that I paid to, give me some concept drawings, which stayed within the boundaries of what I drew. So does that mean that guy has just as much right to my character, like he fleshed him out and created him? No, I still created the character, the concept, and just like Stan Lee, he created the concept of these things. It just, these artists brought it to life for him, but it takes both to get it going and make it successful.
I think it depends too on how much success was that because of one or the other. So, like you can make the argument if you have somebody like Bob Kane, who supposedly created Batman, right? Yeah. His drawing of Batman in a red jumpsuit with a mask and black underwear and cape wasn't going to sell that book. So without Bill Finger, that book Batman would have never been what he was. That was an iconic look. So I would say they both deserve credit in creating that. When you come up with something like the X-Men and they were wearing a team uniform, do you really deserve credit for the drawing of the X-Men? When that's the concept of them is what.
Look at the first 20 or 30 issues of that. It's kind of like, and it wasn't until they got brand new X-Men and you brought on, guys like who was
Len Wein, Dave Cockrum, John Byrne.
That's the name. You brought in those guys there. That's when the popularity of the X-Men came, because you had such great art to go with it.
Yeah.
No different to Spider-Man. Yeah, Dick was there in the early stages, but it wasn't until John Romita came on and really revolutionized the art on that title. You had books out there before that. So, I mean, realistically, it was the later artists that popularized them. But, did they create them?
But like the X-Men, that was all about the concept of what it was. Stan deserves full credit for creating them. I'm sorry. I don't see where that team uniform they all wore, and the only thing that changed was the eye mask or the hair sticking through it for Jean, or Beast not wearing any boots, or Iceman only wearing boots. That didn't really do anything for creating those characters. You just drew them. But that was a concept.
It didn't change the character, the concept, or their personality.
Yeah. Then you go to the Fantastic Four, or even the Hulk. You can make the argument without the artwork, would it really have worked the right way? I don't know. But some of them, yes, some of them, no. So I think it just depends. But I mean, I don't think either one is really in the right in that argument. And they showed a little bit of their argument on that movie, on that documentary, but they didn't dwell on it long. And I was like,
what's funny, and this is one of the as we last thing I'll touch on before we move on, but. Yeah, Kirby's son, and that thing he put on there, he said that he pretty much said that the only Marvel character his father was given full recognition for, or as far as creating art in the works, was Silver Surfer. However, if you look at any of the things of Stan Lee in the last years of his life when he was in his office, what's the one character behind him? There was a massive painting of the Silver Surfer right behind him.
Yeah.
So if your dad's giving the credit for that right there, and Stan had it behind him, your dad's obviously getting a homage, some respect from Stan, because Stan has said that was his favorite character.
And really and truthfully, that's not even a fair statement to make either, because he gets full credit for him, along with Joe Simon, for Captain America, which I've always made the argument that started in the Captain America comics, but I did not realize that Atlas and Timely owned the Captain America comic imprint too. So that's your first full-fledged character he was given credit for. I mean, along with Joe Simon, but there was no way you could have done either one of those without either one of them. But it was an interesting watch, but it was very short. They jumped over a lot of stuff, and honestly, after they get to like the 70s and 80s, they just skip all the way to the 2010s. And I'm like, wait a minute. There's a whole ton of stuff you left out.
We jump into that Excelsior brand.
Yeah, now I will give them the ending of it was pretty impactful because they showed him giving us, I've seen it a couple times before, a speech at a college graduation and stuff, and the stuff he said was pretty impactful there. So that was a nice ending, but it was kind of an abrupt ending too. Just kind of came out of nowhere.
Well,
but
he's dead.
Yeah, but speaking of coming out of nowhere, I did actually get to go watch the Flash movie. I will give a quick synopsis of it before we jump into our focus topic because it ties directly into it because we were going to talk about the Flash, and I won't give any spoilers, but I will say that the movie was okay. It was nothing special to me. It did not stand out. It was, if I'm grading it on a scale, I give it about a 6.5 maybe. Oh, wow. It was entertaining to watch, but there were certain things like Michael Keaton was fantastic in it. I will say the girl Sasha Calais, I'm not sure how you say her last name, who plays Supergirl, was fantastic in her role.
She's really hot in the suit.
Did not make a lot of sense as to why she was there, and she was the one instead of Superman in this instance. They tried to explain it.
I read where James Gunn apparently was like when they were in the filming / editing process. James Gunn's deal was already in the works, and he went in there and he pretty much butchered a lot of what the script was, and like there was a lot of cameos and stuff that was supposed to be like the Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, all the stuff with them in there was thrown out because it would have.
But she's still in it.
Well, there's a lot of things they said that was thrown out by the wayside because it was going to interfere with the Superman Legacy script that he had already written. And apparently they said he wrote this script about 2 years ago.
I don't know. I haven't looked at that, but it didn't make much sense for them to use Supergirl in this just because they're only a little bit of spoiler. I'll give. They explained that she's there because Kal-El's not. But I'm like, but wouldn't, if this is the case and this is just a different timeline, wouldn't she still already have arrived on Earth in the other timeline? And we just acted like she doesn't exist. So the stuff like that is confusing in it. The way they explain a multiverse, I'm not sure I fully agree with because some of the stuff did not make sense. Like every time you turn around, you got people who are the same and people who look completely different. Like why did Ben Affleck all of a sudden look like Michael Keaton is much older and a different Batman altogether? And this does not make sense on a sliding scale of a multiverse, at least not in my eyes.
Well, that's always one of the things to me when you have multiversal things. It's just a different aspect of the same person. If there's 74 multiverses out there, Hassel's going to always look like me. He might be skinnier than me. He might be bald,
I have a different haircut, color his hair, whatever.
But at the end of the day, his features should look like me. This one asshole right here. So as much as I do love having both of them there, and then
the only time I see that being different is if you do a complete gender swap or race swap type universe where say everybody's African American in that one, or everybody is who's male is female, females are male, whatever.
The one Earth where Superman is black. I forget which. Does he go by Kal-El there? Maybe.
That's his Kryptonian name still. Yes, but he's President Calvin or whatever. No, he's president of the U.S.
I mean, something like that. That makes sense there in those aspects. But other than that, it doesn't to me. I am happy Michael Keaton's there. And I did pop a little when I read that Clooney makes a cameo.
Yeah, he's at the very end of it.
I wanted bat nipples, but
that was all not bad, and they did a good job with that. The visual effects were really weird because they went from being really great in one scene to looking like a bad video game in the next scene. It's like,
well, the movie was so on and off. I wonder if like budget cutting happened.
There's parts where like when Barry runs into the Speed Force and stuff, and there's parts where it's like he's supposed to be running and he's still inside the Speed Force and moving, and I swear to God, it looks like his legs are like he's pedaling a bicycle backwards. I'm like, why do your legs look like they're moving in reverse? And I even looked at the kid. I was like, does that look weird? He's like, why is he running backwards? I'm like, I don't know, because he's moving forward, but his feet are moving backwards. It's like he's taking steps back to run forward. It made no sense.
I hate that too, because Andy Muschamp directed this. I mean, he directed it, and he's a great director.
Fixing to direct the next Batman movie too.
Is he?
Yeah, he got tapped for Batman Brave and the Bold.
You know what? If the studio stays behind him, I think he'll do finding these. I mean, that was the thing. Like the studio was on and off of this movie. It was like one time it was talking about being scrapped. Then they were like, "We're going to do it. We're going to scrap." You know, they were back and forth because of Ezra's, issues.
It was okay. Like I said, it wasn't great, but there was parts that didn't make sense. The cameos in it were pretty cool. The final battle was all over the place, and special effects were up and down in it, which kind of took me out of it a little bit. But there's a scene at the very beginning, and this is the last thing I'll harp on it, where he's as his first introduction on screen as the Flash, not just as Barry Allen, but as the Flash and saving people and doing stuff, is the most cringe-worthy thing to ever watch.
Really?
It was terrible. It was like they set up the whole thing, and the idea of it is okay, he's just really cleaning up the rest of the Justice League's mess when they're doing stuff. That's not really a spoiler. We've already heard that, but there's a scene where he's trying to save people out of a hospital with this collapsing and falling out of a window and stuff, and they didn't do just people. It's like so spoiler alert if anybody doesn't want to hear this, jump further ahead about 5 minutes. He's saving babies falling out of the nursery. Like, for first thing, why would the nursery of a hospital be on like the 30th floor and the whole thing be a window glass pane like a business office building?
Them kids need sunlight, monster.
But then they crash out of this window, and he's running up there trying to save them. And it's like, first of all, his energy runs out, so he's got to stop and eat food, find a vending machine that's falling, and grab food out of it so he can get enough energy to run around. It's like, all right, that's kind of lame because, yes, I know he's got to consume calories, but why do that in the middle of babies falling? And he starts grabbing.
Fucking Ant-Man and orange slices all of a sudden?
Yeah, and he starts trying to save these babies, and I'm like, so he's moving at super speed and pulling them around and moving them in different positions to catch them on the ground. I'm like, first of all, touching them at that rate of speed that you're moving would probably snap that child's neck. But secondly, there's a point where he cooks a burrito in a microwave, or he takes one out of the microwave somebody was cooking as a snack part. He takes one of the kids and throws them in the microwave, shuts the door. I'm like, that is the worst thing you could have shown in this movie after all the shit he's done. And he catches all the kids on a gurney on the ground later on, and then the one that's in the microwave gets caught on there, and then the microwave dings, and he's like, oh, and he opens it up because he remembered he stuffed a baby in there and hands it to the nurse, and she's like screaming. I'm like, that is just, if you're gonna have him save people, just do normal people. You could have had one kid in this, but a whole group of babies, one nurse, and then there's this one dog. The dog was the funny part. It's like a therapy dog, and the dog's falling, and like, when he throws the burrito, the dog's like trying to bite it as it goes by and stuff. He's like, hey. So that was kind of funny, but
wow,
the whole baby thing was just like, it took me completely. I was like, this is just gross to watch. I'm like, this is like, especially considering his rap right now and everything he's been. I was like, ooh. I would have cut that scene and redone something because that
you should have kissed every one of them children.
Yeah, it was so bad. I was like, I can't watch that. That part of it's like completely pulled me out of it. And I'm normally not like caring about stuff like that, but that one just like struck me weird. Like this whole scene's like trying to make him endearing and make me love him, and I kind of want to smack the shit out of him right now.
Pushes him further away.
Yeah.
See, I'm not gonna lie, because like I was excited about this and I was sold on this solely because of Michael Keaton. No, I'm not gonna lie. Michael Keaton, and then when I went and seen Transformers: Rise of the Machines, they did a different trailer than any that I'd seen before. And I'm not gonna lie, seeing Michael Keaton as Batman on the big screen for me, even though it was just during the trailer, I felt like I was this 9-year-old kid again watching Batman for the first time. Like literally, I done got choked up a little bit sitting there with my wife. I was like, holy shit, It was really cool. So I was like pumped and excited to go see this because I really intended to go see it last weekend. And, my wife had some school issues going on where she had tests and, big things to study for. And it was Father's Day. So, I just didn't get around to it. Then when I talked to you, and I was like, ooh. And then I read because it didn't perform as well as they expected.
Oh, it performed terrible. They complained about how bad Black Adam was. This actually made less.
Yeah, it made like $70-something million.
Yeah,
and I don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money to us, but that's a movie that should have popped about $100 to $120 million opening weekend, and it didn't. So you're looking at a good difference there, and they're already talking about it's streaming on Max come September 1st. I'm like, you know what? I can wait 2 months.
It's not a terrible movie, but it also at the same time it makes you feel like, well, this has no bearing going forward because they've already told us it doesn't.
Yeah, literally, they said the only way that it will. I read an article just 2 days ago, actually. They said the only way it'll get a sequel and continue to live inside the new DCU will be if it made, it was, they put some number, it was a ridiculous amount of money, actually. Like, it had to top what a couple of the other past DC movies have made. And I was like, it's not going to do that. Not at the pace it's going. And I was what they were saying. Well, Aquaman started out to a very slow pace, but due to its international allure, it somehow wound up, grossing a shit ton of money. So, like, if it does that, then Warner Brothers has said they'll back it further. But if it doesn't, and it's not,
I don't see it doing it. And it kills me too, because I was listening to an interview the other day, Michael Rosenbaum interviewing James Gunn on his podcast, and James was like, oh, yeah, he's so upfront about a lot of stuff. And then he's like, well, what about the new Flash movie? That's kind of your first movie there. He's like, oh, it's so great, it's wonderful. I was like, you are a lying motherfucker. You did not like that movie, and you know it.
Well, what about the actor that plays Zod? Like, he is shit on the DCU for the second time. Like, he shit all over it after Man of Steel. And then he comes back for this payday and then shits on it again. Towards the eyes is like somebody playing with action figures.
Did you see where he actually asked Zack Snyder for permission to go back and do this?
No, I didn't actually.
They both said separately that he called Zack Snyder and asked him if he was okay with him going back and doing this. He's like, I don't care, go ahead. Because he's like,
I don't know why they wanted him back. I mean, I like the guy as an actor. Like, I enjoyed it.
He was not good in that. He wasn't great in that role.
Well, I actually enjoyed him in Man of Steel, other than how the ending played out, and that's just. But
yeah, that's fair.
I really enjoyed him in Tammy and George, and where he plays George Jones. He's done a great job in that. I mean, he's a great actor. But like literally right after Man of Steel, he kind of said a lot of derogatory shit. Then he got pissed and said a lot more shit when they brought him back for Batman versus Superman, where they didn't bring him back, but they used his likeness because they owned it at that point. And he was super, super negative about that shit. He comes back for this fucking big payday because they paid him well.
Oh, yeah.
It was fine to do that. But as soon as he's done filming and they put it out there, he's like, it's just like somebody playing with action figures. I don't really even know why they brought me back. I didn't feel any. And the more you read it, it almost was like because he wasn't the center focus.
He wasn't even.
He was just a part of the story, a big cog that kept going.
Yeah, he was only in about a third of it, if that much.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like that. So he was jaded because of that, honestly, because he wasn't the central villain or the main focus of the.
I will say, as much as I didn't care for him as Barry Allen because he doesn't fit the character either way, I will give Ezra Miller credit for playing two different versions of the same character, because like his multiverse versions of himself, the one that's from what we know, and then the one that from the new timeline, completely different personas, different people altogether. You would have assumed, but neither one of them fits Barry Allen. Yeah. So it was kind of
I got more of a Wally West vibe off of him, and what I've seen.
Yeah, and then you really get it from his alternate timeline version. He's much more Wally-like.
Really?
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that, because I'm a Wally West. That's my Flash to me.
Well, and let's do that. Let's just jump straight into our focus, because we've spent a lot of time, so we don't have a ton of time anyway. But we'll kind of go through some of this really quickly that we had put together, which Flash should be made into a movie. He's one of the central characters of DC. He's one of the big seven. Is he one of the big three? No, but he's also the one who started the Silver Age. So Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman never left. Flash did go away as Jay Garrick comes back as Barry Allen. Started the Silver Age, one of DC's major characters. Really the first sacrificial character, honestly. Yeah, him and Supergirl. And Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's the first time you really see major characters like that get killed off and stayed at it for a while. Not forever, because nobody stays forever.
He died. He was dead for, 30 years?
Yeah, and every major team out there has a Flash on it, whether it's the Justice Society with Jay Garrick, Barry on the Justice League, Wally or Impulse or whoever on the Teen Titans. And honestly, I will make the argument that from a legacy standpoint and a family standpoint, the only person who can compete with the Flash family is probably Batman's, but Batman's I don't think is as in depth as the Flash's is. So Batman, you have more characters, but that's because somebody and somewhere in child services does not know how to tell a rich guy that he can't adopt every street urchin he finds.
He takes all these wards in and turns them into little ninjas.
Yes, but look at the Flash family. So it's Jay Garrick was the first one, which no relation to any of the rest of them because he was there and it just that's what it was. But then you got Barry. Well, his nephew Wally, his grandson Bart Allen, his later on their other nephew Wallace West when they reboot the timeline and they've got another brother and family branch there. Even the ones who are outside the family, Avery Ho, Johnny Quick, Jesse Quick, Max Mercury, they all spend so much time with them, and they see so many scenes in the books of them at like family barbecues and doing family stuff that it's really a true family legacy on theirs. So I kind of feel like you have to do a Flash at some point. It has to be in there. But
I'm down for that. I mean, I enjoy the character. I like the character, but to me, I said everybody has their own Flash.
Yes. And that's one of the things I wanted to get into since you brought it up. So I kind of sped through that stuff. But let's talk favorite Flash because I'm more of a Barry guy. I like him because I think he's set up to be even though he's not the oldest member, he's kind of set up to be the progenitor of the whole Flash legacy family. And there's certain things about him as his character, not even just Flash, but as Barry Allen that I like because he's the CSI and I like that kind of stuff. He's a true detective and all, and that's what feeds into making him.
He's the non-Dark Knight version of Bruce.
Yes, because he's a much more hopeful character, but he's also got the same kind of training and background, at least in criminology, as Bruce Wayne does.
You almost feel like if Bruce hadn't took the police path, his parents not got gunned down, but still chose law enforcement. That's what Barry Allen is. And he just got struck by the Speed Force,
Yeah.
To where Bruce is, Bruce.
Yeah. Well, and then your other ones, and the other one that stands out to me the most is my second, which I think is your favorite, is Wally. But it's a very strange dichotomy between the two of them because Barry, to me, is the smart one. He uses the speed in smarter ways. He does other things like solving crimes and stuff just by looking at evidence. Wally's a much more spiritual and intuitive way of using the speed. Like he understands.
He's more passionate. He finds things out through experience. He doesn't have a lot of experience to dwell on. That's not what I'm saying. It's just he has failures. He learns from these failures, and I think that's why I related to him the best. He's very Peter Parkerish.
Yes,
he's quick with the quips, and at the same time he has failure. He almost seems to always have something going on terrible. But he learned from it and stayed upbeat.
He has a less of a serious persona than Barry. Not to say he's not serious about what he does, but he's less grim about it sometimes than what Barry will be, even though Barry's not like a Batman, but still Wally's even further on the spectrum of being happy-go-lucky kind of guy. But it's funny to read the books too because his thing is not putting the criminals in jail. It's like they're like, do not do crime in Central City. And it's like the Flash 800 issue has a thing in there. They're like, you don't commit crimes in Central City. Well, why not? And they're sitting around playing poker. They're like, because it's not that he arrests you. It's like, you go to Gotham, Batman breaks a few bones, you're going to be hurting. You go to Metropolis, Superman's just going to stop you. You're just going to jail. You're not getting away. But when you do it in Central City, Flash shows up everywhere you are, and that dude never stops talking and trying to convince you to be a better person. And it is so annoying. They're like, then the guy's like, well, all this money I'm playing this card game with, I stole from Central City Bank. They're like, you did what? They all get up to leave, and then there's a knock at the door. They're like, he's here. He opens the door, and Wally's standing there like, let me talk to you about this.
And they even do that in the shows. Like, all right, now you know better than this. Like he's like chastising, Mirror Master and Boomerang and all them, and it's like that's what I dig. I mean, he's very. I'm a Spider-Man guy, so he reminded me of Spider-Man, as a speedster. So I just related to that, and then they've done such a great job. Also, like with Justice League Unlimited, that I love it. One of the best episodes to me is that episode where he kind of sacrifices himself, with the Brainiac Luthor version.
Oh, dude, that's one of the best ones. That
is like, if you don't fucking get a little bit misty-eyed at the end of that one there, it's like, oh, shit, you got no soul.
Yeah, the whole scene where he's like, are you going to fight me? And he runs away, and he's like, Luthor just kind of laughs for a minute, and all of a sudden he comes speeding around because he's running around the earth and just hitting him. I'm like,
Well, it
dude,
showed
that's
that like
badass.
when the chips were down, he not only was he a badass, he could be serious when he needed to be, and he was very, very innovative. Now he's not fucking OP like Casey wants to make him. Casey, yes, I'm taking a shot at you right now because I know you're such a fucking Flash nerd. You're probably sitting there whacking off while listening to us, but he's not OP, but he is a very powerful character.
His powers get confusing too because there's the downplay of okay, he's just a guy who runs
Who's fighting
fast.
him at the moment? Like Jeff
Yeah,
Johns, as great as Jeff Johns is, and I love his books, they're very interesting. He took a lot of liberties and made the character more powerful than what he truly is.
I will give him. It depends on how you write something. Like I get that. Okay, he's not just a guy who runs fast, and he can't just move while you're standing still. That does happen, but some of the stuff that makes sense to me, like his infinite mass punch. If you run that far, that fast, and you build up enough kinetic energy, yes, your punch will be extremely strong. I can give you that. The running and lending the speed and like pulling things along with him, that's pretty cool. I give him that one. The phasing through stuff is cool. The one I cannot stand, and it started with the TV shows, is where they let him throw lightning. I'm like, motherfucker, he does not need that offensive power.
No.
Stop that. Just because y'all can't think of any other way for him to fight somebody.
Well, he's got cool lightning bolts on his suit, monster. Come on.
Yeah.
You had to get him somewhere.
Yeah, but that one drives
Pulled
me
him out
crazy.
of his ass.
I will say though, some of the stuff that they gave Wally later on, like he can reconstruct his suit from the Speed Force energy and stuff. That's kind of like, that was a little far for me.
I began stretching at a certain point.
I do like when they had him run so fast that he can actually outrun teleportation. Like he can almost be in two places at once. That was kind of cool. But rebuilding his suit and stuff was like, we went a little too far with this.
I want him to have limits because that's to me that's what humanizes a character and makes them relatable. Like Superman, for all as cool as Superman is, he doesn't really have limits. So it's hard for you and I to relate to him. You know what I'm saying? Other than the fact that he's a Boy Scout and it's like he grew up on a farm and he's kind of like a Southern boy. Aside from that, you can't really relate to the character because I mean, he's almost a god.
No,
So characters need to have these limits so you can actually relate to them and say, you know what? I've been down on my little ad. That does suck, buddy. Yeah, or something to that effect. But I mean, if he could just do whatever the fuck he wants to do, I mean, you can't relate to that guy.
Now, I do like the fact that they give him enough speed to be able to traverse multiverse, travel through time. Because if you were moving that fast, theoretically, in theoretical science, that should work out for you at some point to be able to do some of those things. You just got to control how often you use that stuff because it gets to be a plot device. It got to be a plot device for them. Like the New 52 and Rebirth on it. It got to be a plot device where they just constantly keep doing it.
I blame Barry Allen for the last fucking 15 years of shitty DC books. Now, when he was rebirthed, I was excited because they were doing the rebirths and bringing back these legacy characters. I was happy with that. I was happy the way he come back. I was cool with that. But then Flashpoint happens. And if it had been a throwaway book, or not, I ain't even going to say a throwaway book. Let's just say if it had been a one-off, like what the Crisis books were initially as a storyline to get to the next part, I'm fine with that. But then that's where you start having New 52. And we get that fucking whole woke 3 years. They shit all over everybody's continuity. And that was the part that really just done it for me. When you start erasing 50 years of continuity.
That's the problem with the timeline Speed Force stuff is that they've used it as a crutch for, this storyline didn't work out. Let's just reset the timeline and make Flash do it.
Yep.
It's to stop using it as a plot device.
Look at the big events they've had in DC since then. Every one of them is just this crazy over the top. It's alternate versions of heroes like Heavy Metal and the fucking Batman who laughs and all this shit that it's nothing more than evil versions because we've done that in Flashpoint. And that's been their cycle for at least a decade now.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think to go back to the movie and stuff, though, you had to have the Flash come up somewhere in there and get his own movie, even outside Justice League. Having him in Justice League is great, but he needs his own thing. And I mean, you look at all the media he shows up in. You had him in Super Friends, you had him in Justice League. You tried a TV show in the 90s, which I actually thought was really good, and I still enjoy watching that occasionally.
Yeah.
The CW show was probably the best they've ever done with him, especially when they start bringing in the 90s era Flash to play either Jay Garrick or play his version of himself when they do the Crisis storyline in there, and it actually works out really well. I will say that you get to Ezra Miller's Flash, and I'm kind of turned off by it just because I don't like the way he plays the character, and I cannot stand the way he runs. And their whole thing is they want him to
I
run
will
looking like
say
he's
it
ice
was
skating.
it was cool that they done that for the CW. It lent some credibility to the show.
Yes.
Regardless of what we think of it, it did lend like holy shit when you see the actual DCU Flash show up on that show.
Oh, yeah.
That was an old shit moment. And it's one of the few good old shit moments you get in like television. But I will say the cat that plays him on the show, I think, is a better Flash overall.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I will say I didn't bring this up in Geek Week, but I finished the last season of it because it's completed this last season. I finished watching it. It was last season was kind of lackluster compared to some of the others. Really and truthfully, I would have liked to see more, but it wasn't terrible. And at the very end, I do like at the very end of it because he and this is not a spoiler because it's been out for a while now and it's on Netflix at this point, but at the very end, he runs and he throws lightning in the air, which I can't stand to begin with. But the only thing I do like about that is he was actually throwing it back into the Speed Force to divide it out and to give other people speed powers, which is in the comics when it was retcon, he was hit by a bolt of lightning in the 50s. They didn't really have a whole lot of backstory. When it's retcon later on, the bolt of lightning that hits him is actually him expending energy from one of his times in the Speed Force. So he actually gave himself his powers
That's
from the
actually
Speed
pretty
Force.
cool.
And they did that on the show, and they actually showed a Max Mercury and Avery Ho Flash, which is the Flash of China, and Jesse Quick. And I was like, all right, that's actually pretty cool.
Well, see, I watched the first 2 seasons, I think it was, and I enjoyed them. I just somehow along the way I fell out of being able to catch them regularly, and a season got by me. And when a season got by me, I was just like, fuck it, I never went back.
Yeah.
But I will say, Entertainment Tonight did a really great little reel on it, and they had to get the actor that played him, and he's got a box there in front of him.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that?
That's
I was
fantastic.
even though I hadn't followed the show enough as I should, I caught a few episodes afterwards here sporadically. Even I was like, holy shit, that's kind of emotional. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would have rather seen him in the movies. Ezra Miller kills me, especially the way he runs. When they show him running and he's flinging his arms and he looks like he's trying to ice skate, and they're like, we wanted to look like a figure skater or an ice skater because that's what they do. I was like, get rid of that. He runs. He doesn't skate. He just needs to run. He just needs to hightail it, man. He don't need to.
Well, that's what happens. You have very unathletic people produce these movies.
Yeah.
They should have had somebody somewhere that was a track star say, hey, look,
all you gotta do is just turn on some Olympics at some point and watch the people run. That's all you gotta do.
Well, it's a Nigerian kid that's like the fastest man out there. Like,
yeah,
watch him.
Go back to when we were young and the fastest man was what, Usain Bolt. Just go watch him run. Copy that.
That's actually whose name I was thinking of, and it was like right there at the tip. But I was like,
well, just copy that. Quit trying to copy whoever else over here.
Yes.
But with that, we have spent quite a bit of time, so we will go ahead and, as much as we enjoy this topic, maybe we'll come back to another time and flesh out some more. But let's go ahead and jump into Nerd Out. So for anybody who hasn't been here with us before, this is part of the show. We ask random questions about topics of the day, respond with little to no prep time. We would love to hear your response to the questions or expand upon ours. Feel free to do that in the comments down below. Hassel, you want to go first?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Okay. You're given an unlimited budget, free reign to do what you choose. Do you write a Flash movie, television show, or comic? Who is your Flash? And who is the villain?
Ooh, I would want to do a movie first. And see, I want to do a movie, but I kind of want it to just be it doesn't have to be a full theatrical release. I kind of want a Netflix movie and then move into a streaming series of it or something like that. Because I think if you're not doing something like Flashpoint, which is what they tried to do in this movie, it's kind of hard to have a one big movie Flash story and that be it. Like you can do an origin story I was thinking an origin story as a movie and then move into something else. Because if you do anything else, a lot of his stories were mostly self-contained or very quick, so it's kind of hard to, I don't know, it's kind of hard to adapt any of them into anything other than a show and have, different sequences from the. You could take a year-long run of his books and have a show with different sequences from different books. That's kind of how I would do it. But I think for Flash, dude, if it's not going to be Grant Gustin, I don't know who, because he's been the best one to me so far. I'm trying to think of anybody else out there that I think could play him fairly decently. Yeah, I'd probably stick with Grant Gustin and make him Barry. If you were going to do Wally, I think you could do somebody like you could almost do somebody like Chris Evans in his comedic form before he was, Captain America or something, and have him do something like a Wally.
He's a little longer in the tooth to pull off a Wally at this point, though.
That's fair. I'm trying to think of anybody else.
Yeah, he can still pull off Barry.
My brain is not picking up too quickly on too many actors.
See, I was gonna catch you slack there. I wasn't even gonna make you pick an actor. I was just gonna say who is your Flash.
Oh, I thought you were asking who's playing him. So my bad.
No, cool points for going the extra mile.
Villain wise, I gotta do for the movie. I'd have to do Reverse Flash because you can have him do the whole "I killed your mom" thing when you were a kid, and but then for the series, I would go with the Rogues Gallery and introduce those one at a time and have them Captain Cold, Heat Wave, Pied Piper, whoever.
Yeah, I like that.
So what about you? What would you do?
I'm going cinematic, but I'm going to go with a streaming series on Max. But we're just going to have quality of a Disney Plus series. Because those Disney Plus series all have the movie universe quality.
Speaking of which, before we move on, Secret Invasion started yesterday.
It did. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Is it good? I heard it was actually a major death.
There was, and the first episode started off kind of exciting, kind of slowed down to get the story set up because it is a spy thriller type thing. So you kind of have to wade through a little bit, but by the end it was like picked up again.
Yeah, I plan on watching it when we get done recording this actually, but I'm doing a streaming, say 10 episodes. That gives you plenty of meat there. You can do some stuff. And Wally West is my Flash. And I think it'd be pretty cool to have Gorilla Grodd as the villain. And maybe have Giganta in it as well. I don't know. I really liked how they done her in some of the books, and especially on like the Justice League Unlimited. She's got there's legs there, literally. For this character, honestly, but that could be really cool cinematically. If you got a good budget there, and you really, I think, I don't know who I'd have as my Flash, but I do think that I would have to have Andy Sudeikis, isn't that his name?
Yeah,
I would want him to be my Grodd. He's got a great voice, and then he's motion capture king. So. Yeah, that's what I would go with.
That would be interesting. You know what I would do if I was doing a Wally one? It would be I'd get through the first season and just be a setup for what kind of the tone of everything is, and the second season would be the Savitar storyline where he gets into the Speed Force and stuff, and then you can introduce Max Mercury and Impulse and stuff, and have him have some of the Flash family. That would be pretty cool to me.
That would be. That'd be interesting.
Especially if you say that you establish you don't have to do a whole origin. He's been around. He was Kid Flash. He's now Flash. You could do a quick 10-minute explanation of that at worst in the show of just him explaining it as a backlog to the story.
But you'd have to do the flashback of the gloss over the guy from the Ant-Man movies. Lewis. He's guy.
Michael Pena.
That would be awesome.
So my question,
crazy fast, man.
That would be interesting to see. My question this week was: is there any Flash retcon for the character or later edition that just annoys the crap out of you? So
Flash going on.
I knew you were going to go there.
I'm just saying, it ruined an entire universe. It's not like a bad storyline. Like, okay, with Batman, when Grant Morrison come on, I like Grant Morrison as a writer, even though he wants to use Frank Quietly, which I hate. I
Everybody looks
hate
like
his
they're
art.
80. Everybody looks 80 years old.
Yes, they're pruny. Everything is fucking pruny. A gun would look pruny. But anyways, when Grant Morrison done that Batman where he had the fucking rainbow suit because he had lost his fucking mind or some shit, and
Oh, the
this was
Zurian
his
R.
this was his fail safe. I was like, what the fuck did you do? Aside from that, I blame Flashpoint for everything else. Because and the shit is that my tangent on that was as bad as that was with Grant Morrison, they come back from that, and it was just a bad storyline. They moved on. It didn't destroy the rest of the universe. It didn't, change what Superman's doing, Green Lantern's doing, Flash, anyone else.
Now,
Flash fucking shits the bed that fucked up everybody.
in fairness, while I'm not a fan of most of Grant Morrison stuff, other than his Justice League, really and truthfully, I'd not care for anything else he did. That Batman of Zurian R is actually from the Silver Age and actually was a Batman on an alien planet, and he just repurposed that for his storyline.
Yeah, it was his fail safe. I forget what it was. The deal was, but I was like, I remember reading it at a time like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. My same thing was either Flashpoint or, and I'm torn between this, and this is the one thing I hated from the TV show is with Grant Gustin started that whole let me run around in a circle, build up electrical charge, and throw lightning at you. That is not an offensive tactic that the Flash needs. This dude is moving so fast, he could do anything he wanted to you before you realize it. Why is he throwing lightning?
Yeah, if he can grab you faster than lightning can hit you, why would he need to throw lightning at you?
Yeah, he runs faster than the speed of light. He's going to get to you before the lightning even does. What's the point of this whole thing?
And I get it. It looks visually, it's appealing, but it just doesn't make sense.
It is, but they got to the point where they were even creating like little lightning swords, like lightsabers, and dueling with them on the show. And I was like, hell no. And they do the lightning throwing in the movie too, in this new movie. And I'm like, God dang it, stop! That is not a thing he does. Stop doing it.
Now, as much as I want to see Michael Keaton on the big screen, I'm just going to go in there and rewatch Batman 89 on my TV and be fine.
The other rumor was if this movie was successful enough that they were going to try and do a Batman Beyond with him being old Bruce.
Dude, I would go to the movies to see that. I'm down with that.
I would somewhat watch that. I mean, he did a fantastic job. I will say that the whole storyline for him and some of the stuff that they had him explain, he's supposed to be as smart as he is. Some of the stuff he explained, like he explained the multiverse theory to him, and I was like, that's not what any textbook out there says on a multiverse theory. If you read scientific string theory and stuff, that's not accurate.
So as much as I know we need to move on, I want to ask, who is a dead character that's in there? Because apparently I read something the other day where they was talking about, all the cameos and whatnot. And apparently there's some passed away actor that somehow made a cameo.
Several of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, again, spoilers, skip ahead about 2 minutes here. Christopher Reeve, George Reeves, who plays the first Superman and the Mole Man stuff in the 50s, or actually maybe the second Superman. There's somebody before him. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah.
Andy something, I think. But either way, George Reeves, Christopher Reeves. They did show a Jay Garrick Flash, and that's actually the same guy who played Zoom, or he was Zoom, but he was also the fake Jay Garrick in season 2 of the TV shows. Teddy Sears, who played him on there. Because, eventually they find out he's actually Zoom, and the guy who played him in the 90s TV series is actually Jay Garrick on the show. Also played the dad for Barry.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Jay Garrick was on there, and then it was Christopher Reeve and George Reeves, and then Nick Cage, Superman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I say he just made his debut in the comics too.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting to see, but that's what the cameos were.
Okay.
But with that, we've extended our time quite a bit here, so we got to start getting out of here. But before we leave, let's give some shout out to some of our friends. Let's start with Mr. Wes Hartman, comic creator of the Savage Sasqanaut and the Cosmic Roots imprint studio. You can find him on Instagram at the Sasqanaut and at Cosmic Roots Studio, and on his website www.wes-hartman.com, where you can order copies of any of his books and trades. Mr. Chris Daly, host of the Fueled by Weird podcast. Check him out on Instagram at Fueled by Weird and on his podcast, Fueled by Weird, wherever you find your podcast at. Diorama builder and toy customizer, Mr. Seth Stafford. You can find him on Instagram at Trophy Hunter Toys. Our friend Miss Mandy Lynn, aka Cushy Mama. You can find her on Instagram at Cushy Mama and on YouTube at Doodles Toy Report and her new channel, The Collector Sector. And she just came back with a new episode last week, and I think she's booking guests for July. So if you're interested, check out her Instagram and hit her up. Mr. August Aguilar from Strange Film Studios. Remember to keep an eye out for their new project, The Gifted. Is it The Gift or The Gifted? I can't remember. I might be saying it wrong.
Gifted.
The Gifted. I've seen where he's got a trailer coming out pretty soon if it's not already out. So check that out and be prepared for the movie. Looks like it's going to be pretty good. Check out our friend Mr. James Jefferson, creator of Warrior Island. You can catch updates on his comic and movie adaptation at his website, warriorisland.com. And last but not least, don't forget our extended Nerdy Manroom family member, Mr. Big Rob. You can find him on his channel, Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food, where he drops new reviews and unboxings and shares life stories from life on the road that only Big Rob has. And while you're checking all these people out, don't forget about These Own Collectibles, our sponsor. You can find them on the internet at theseowncollectibles@gmail.com and on Facebook at These Own Collectibles, or in their store at 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. Visit them for all your nerdy needs and help them support the local artist community by supporting their cause of bringing unity through community. Fandoms unite. But don't forget about us as well while you're checking all these out. So, Hassel, tell them where they can find us at.
Yeah, so we're the most important assholes to remember. So you check us out on our sponsor, The Zone, via Spotlight Media on Roku and Fire Stick TV. They have a really cool channel set up on there now on both of them. They're easy to find. Go to the streaming section. You can find us on there. You can find the Nerdy Manroom Show, House's Review. We're on there. You go to the YouTube where we're one subscriber away from giving away this H4 Michael Myers autographed mask. What the hell are you people waiting on? One subscriber. Come on. Tell your friends, tell your family, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell. Find us on Twitter at Nerdy MR Show. You can find us on the Instagram at the Nerdy Manroom Show and at Facebook at Hassel Hutchison. And
with that brings us to a close this week. But join us here next time. We're going to discuss some of our favorite playsets and vehicles from the past. Until then, live nerdy, and that's a flash fact.